Hello and welcome to the Raw podcast brought to you by the Sunderland Echo. We're back for another preview podcast, and today we're going to be looking ahead to Sunderland's championship match at Coventry this weekend. So to preview the game, joining myself, Joe Nicholson, we are joined by Myles Cadden from Sky Blues Fans TV. Myles, how's things?
All good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're looking forward to Saturday's game, Sunderland away at Coventry at the CBS Arena. And just looking at Coventry's start, Myles, we'll get straight into it. They have lost 2-1 against Leicester. They beat Middlesbrough 3-0 and they drew 1-1 against Swansea. So how have they played in those games and how are they kind of shaping up ahead of Saturday's match against Sunderland?
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of change, as you're probably aware. I think we've brought in 10 or 11 players now. So virtually a whole new squad that's arrived at the CBS and Coventry City. But yeah, I mean, we've not fared too badly, actually. I thought we were quite unlucky not to get a point at Leicester. I thought we at least deserved a point. But then again, you don't take your chances. You don't get anything out of the game. Middlesbrough, if you want the truth, I thought Middlesbrough were probably nowhere near what they were last season. They've had a lot of change as well, a lot of loan players going back. So we happened just to take our chances on the day, and the third goal was a deflection that went in. So, but we looked quite comfortable in that game. We probably looked more comfortable than we did in the Leicester game. And then on Saturday at Swansea, 1-1, I thought both teams played really well in the first half. It was a fair result going in at half-time. It was disappointing that we conceded within 2 minutes of scoring, which is, any team, that concedes straight away is pretty poor. But both teams in the second half looked like a lot of fatigue was setting in already. So it was down to fitness in the second half. But again, it was probably a fair result. So for us, a lot of people were thinking the first 3 games we'll probably only pick up a point. So we picked up 4 out of the first 3, and we go again on Saturday, which is always an exciting encounter.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, last season, we did get to the playoff final, lost to Luton on penalties. So what is the expectation this season? You mentioned there's a lot of change in the squad. It's been well documented, obviously, that you lost your top scorer in Victor Gyökeres. So how have you kind of coped without him? And what would you say is the expectation again this season? I'd assume, again, it is kind of for the playoffs.
I think with the money that we've spent near on 20 million, which we've never spent in the whole history that I've followed the club. I mean, the most expensive player we ever signed when I've been following them was Robbie Keane, Craig Bellamy and Lee Hughes. So the expectation is playoffs minimum, I think, with all the fans. I would love to see us pushing for an automatic, to be honest, with the amount of changes we've made. But realistically, you got to think it's virtually a whole new team that's come in. It's going to take time for them to bed in. We not only lost Victor, we've lost Hamer as well, who's gone to Sheffield United, which is, I can't believe he's gone to Sheffield United, to be honest with you. So now we're having to learn how to play without Hamer in the squad. So it's going to take time. It will take time. As you guys know, when you change your team all around, it does take a lot of getting used to, and the players have got to learn how to play with each other. I mean, some of the football on Saturday in the first half against Swansea was just unbelievable. And we think we've got our replacements for Victor, which is we think it's Haji Wright from a USA player that we brought in. He's absolutely rapid. He's big, he's strong. And then hopefully we've got a goal scorer that quite well, Ellis Sims, who was on loan with you for the first half of the season last season. So, we're hoping that we've filled the gap, we've spent the money, and expectations are high. With the replacement for Hamer, we just brought in this young lad from Brighton on loan, Swedish international. He's only young though, he's 19, so he's still learning his game. But for us, I think key that we've kept hold of Ben Sheaf in the middle. I think if we'd lost Hamer and Ben Sheaf, I think we probably would have been really struggling, to be honest with you. So we've kept quite a few players, and the new players, you know, what I've seen so far, it's exciting times, real exciting times. And if we don't make it this year, you can see that if they're together for 12 months or a season, you got a good chance next season. But this season's really hard, as you know. I mean, this season is going to be mega hard. I think there's only 5 teams in the league this year that haven't been in the Premier League, so it's going to be a tough season. But yeah, I mean, playoffs is minimum, I think.
Mm-hmm. But you mentioned Ellis Sims there, so we'll come on to him. Obviously, a player that Sunderland fans will know well from his loan spell last season. Coventry spent a lot of money on him. The reported fee was around, I think, £3.5 million, which could rise to £8 million if Coventry reached the Premier League. He did start the first 2 games, still yet to score his first goal, and then he was on the bench against Swansea. So what have you kind of made of him? How has he fared in the first few games, and what's the kind of view on Sims with Coventry fans?
Well, truthfully, myself, there's definitely a player in there that we know that is really good. I mean, you've only got to look how he started for you last season. I think for me is that in pre-season they were working hard. They went to Exeter. He didn't look like he was moving freely at Exeter. In the warm-up, he had a shot, and then he pulled back, and he didn't do any more running around during pre-warm-up for that game. And during that game, he really looked off his game. He looked like he was struggling a little bit. So I think the last three games, he didn't start Saturday, as you quite rightly said. I think he's trying to get used to the fitness level, because the Premier League finished after we finished. So he hasn't had much of a break, and I just think that he will start to shine. He will learn how we want to play. He's a completely different player than we're used to. We're used to the high press. We're used to pace. We're used to just putting the ball up out wide, getting the ball in. And I think Ellis is going to learn. He's still a young lad, and he will come good. Some of the fans, not a lot, I say some of them, just a few, are on his back already. But the guy, it will come good. I think he's been carrying something for the last few weeks. I really do, since Exeter. I think there's been something slightly wrong, and it was probably the right decision to rest him on Saturday and bring him on for like 10, 15 minutes of the game. So, I'm looking forward to Ellis to start firing on all cylinders, because he scored a few goals in pre-season. He looked good. He looked sharp, apart from what happened at Exeter. And I think he's still playing on I think there's something there he's carrying.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he'll start on Saturday? Because last week against Coventry, Mark Robbins went with Hadji Wright and Matt Godden up front, who's already got, I think, 3 goals this season. So do you think Sims will come back in?
As I say, it depends. It really depends on his fitness. They've had another week to train together. I think the best thing for us is that we haven't had any midweek games. Mm-hmm. So they've been able to train for the last 2 weeks together. So they're going to learn how Mark Robbins, AD wants, and Dennis wants the team to play. So maybe he will start. Maybe we need a target man for Saturday. Do you know what? I really don't know at the moment. Even Mark Robbins, I don't think he knows his full starting 11. I'd go with either of them, to be honest with you. I like both of them. I think they're both really good players. I think Hadji Wright has got pace, and maybe he might just edge it a little bit to start ahead of him because of the pace. Mm-hmm. But who knows?
Yeah, you mentioned that Robbins maybe doesn't know his strongest side at the minute, obviously with a lot of change. But last season, it was a lot of the time a back 3, kind of a variation of looked like a 3-4-1-2 with the 2 strikers up there. Looks like he's gone pretty similar this season. So is that how you expect Coventry to kind of start? And how do you think they'll approach the game against Sunderland?
Well, a lot of the games last season, we played one up front majority of the season. So this season, I can see it. We're playing a lot with two up front. So, like you've just mentioned, the one in behind, two up front this season. We'll stick with the back three. We always do. Yeah. It works for us. Carl McFadzean in the middle there just helps out the young lads either side of them. Latabodier and Thomas helps them out nicely. Thomas, for me, for a defender, has become a star already. I think the fans are loving him already, and he can bring the ball out. We will play with the wing backs. So you got Milan Van Eyck. He's just coming from Holland. He's getting used to the game. He went off at the weekend with a sore toe, but that should be okay. That shouldn't be much. De Silva's coming from Bristol. He's got a little bit of pace about him. We'll try and push up the wings as much as we can. We'll put the press on. If Casey Palmer's back, he didn't turn up Saturday because he had something to do, something family related. Mm-hmm. Everyone thought he was off. He was going somewhere, but he's one of those, when a player don't turn up, everyone thinks they're leaving. You know what I mean? But I think Casey Palmer sitting in behind Matty Godden probably had you right at start. Mm-hmm. Then you got Ben Sheaf and Eccles in the middle. And then probably, you'll have your super subs coming on like Sakamoto and that. So, I could see us putting the high press on. That's what we like to do, and we'll try and get it forward as fast as we can. We love to break fast. That's the thing.
I remember the game last season. I'm sure fans with both sides will as well. Coventry won 2-1. Sunderland had 71% of the ball, but just didn't really have that cutting edge. They were struggling without a striker at that stage of the season. I think it was back in February, but Coventry were a real threat on the break, particularly Gokares, who got the second goal. So do you think that's how Coventry will approach this game? Concede possession, but still pose that threat on the break, but with being at home? Do you think they'll try and dominate the ball a bit more, or how do you think they'll go about it?
So what we're seeing so far, I don't know if you've seen any of the clips, but we like to keep hold of the ball so far this season. You can see what we're trying to achieve, which is building slowly, keeping hold of the ball, passing it around at the back, spreading it out wide, hoping that a team will come on to us to try and nick the ball off us. And then what happens is once you commit, a team commits to us, we then sort of try and cut the team apart with some nice passes and then get forward quite quick. So it's a little bit different to that compared with last season. I think we've got the players this season to be able to play that way. So, we've been trying to play that way for the last 5 or 6 years under Robbins, but we've never really had the quality of player, where this year I think we've got the quality of player where we can pass the ball around, slow build up from the back, and look for gaps as a team tries to come and take the ball off us, and then we go and catch them out. Then, like the goal, if you've seen the goal against Swansea, beautiful play, build up to the goal, and you'll notice there we were trying to entice Swansea onto us to then try and get the ball around the back of them to get the ball into the box, which then created the goal. So, yeah, I think you're gonna find it slightly different to last season, and probably a couple of seasons before when we came up, when we were all in League One and stuff. So, it is a completely different team. It really is, and the style of play and the pitch is just unbelievable. I mean, Doug King spent money on the pitch at the ground. He spent money on the pitches at training ground. The pitches, I've never seen our pitch in all the years of watching football. It just looks lush, really, really nice, and it helped both teams.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Sunderland, obviously, a team that want to get the ball down and play as well. But you mentioned Mark Robbins, so just a word on him. The longest-serving manager in the Championship. He's been at Coventry now nearly 6.5 years. The job he's done seems incredible. So I imagine among the fan base, he's a very popular figure.
Yeah, he is. I mean, the guy has worked. Same as your guys at Sunderland. They've worked miracles, and Tony Mowbray. He's a quality manager. But Robbins for us is I don't know what it is about this place. He just absolutely loves Coventry City for some reason. But the test is on now. He's worked his magic with players that, if you remember, we signed one permanent player last season. And that was in July. That was Casey Palmer. We didn't spend any money last season on players. And to achieve what he achieved last season was just a miracle. It was just unbelievable. And it was all about the team spirit. Now the test is for Mark Robins that he's got this money, he's spent this money, he's got these players. Now can he do it with money? Can he get the team spirit where they're together and they're together with the fans and the fans are with them? Can he get that magic into this team? And the guy, if he can do that, he deserves to get into the Premier League or manage a Premier League team, because he has worked miracles. But not just Mark Robins, Adi Vajavash, Dennis Lawrence, they've all worked their magic. And our new chairman, Doug King, come in. A lot of people were saying he was a front man for Sisu, and he's part of Sisu because his offices are in the same building as Sisu. So it's all happened. This has all happened from behind the scenes all the way up to Mark Robins. It's not just Mark Robins; it's everyone related to the club. And the guy, he is just unbelievable. And every week we probably sing his song to him 3 or 4 times every game, and the fans love him to bits. And he loves the fans. He loves the fans. He loves the club. And he's got a job to do, and the job he's got to do, he wants to get us to the Premier League. And I think he will. If it takes 5 years, it takes 5 years. Who cares? He's got a job to do, and he is brilliant. But same as Tony Mowbray. I mean, what a great manager he is. He left us. When he left us and didn't take any wages. He said the club needed it because we were going to fold. We were nearly going to go under. And he's a great manager, and he knows the game. And when you look at Roy Hodgson and all that, they're all still managing. And you look at Tony Mowbray and everything. It's like, how long they're going to go on for. So I'm hoping Mark Robins will go on forever with us, to be honest with you. I can't see anyone. I couldn't see him leaving and us finding another manager. I just don't know who we would ever bring in. You know what I mean?
I like to follow, isn't it? Yeah. You mentioned Mowbray there. Obviously, you'd have seen Sunderland twice last season. The first one, Mowbray wasn't the manager because it was the opening day of the season before he came in. But what have you made of Sunderland? Have you seen much of them this season, and how do you think they'll match up against Coventry on Saturday?
I mean, Sunderland are going places, and everyone knows that. You're a massive club. You have record sales of season tickets every year, and I mean, I haven't seen much of them this season. To be honest, I'm not really allowed to watch much football on a Saturday night. So after I've been to a game, because I do every game, so that's my thing that I have to keep on the low and not watch too much of it. But I mean, from what I've seen last season and the way you've climbed through the leagues like we have, it's just a great story, isn't it? And your fan base is just unbelievable. But I could see this season you're going to be knocking on the door of the playoffs again, and you're going to be up there. And I mean, you had a fantastic season, didn't you? To come straight back up, go to League One, come up, get into the playoffs. I mean, it's just a fantastic thing that you achieved last season. So I would probably think your expectations are probably the same again this season. Especially with your fans and everything that get behind you. And at the end of the day, it's as I said, this season is going to be tough for everybody. As I said, 5 teams that haven't been in the Premier League, and the 3 teams that have come down have got money to splash. And there's a few days left of the transfer window. But yeah, I think you'll probably end up knocking on the door again. I reckon it could be you and us in the final this year.
Yeah. Well, I think both sets of fans would probably take that, wouldn't they? Considering the teams that have come down and the strength of the league, as you mentioned, it is a very strong division this year. But just finally, Myles, we just usually finish by asking our guests just for a quick score prediction. How do you think the game is going to go on Saturday between Coventry and Sunderland?
You know what? This weekend, it's going to be an exciting game. I'm surprised Sky haven't picked this one out. I know it's on international broadcast. I am shocked that they haven't picked this one out. But I think it's going to be very exciting. I could probably see this being probably a 3-2. I reckon. You know, I mean, we are conceding a couple of goals at the moment, but you know, it's as I say, we're still gelling. So this could be a real open game because both teams like to play football, don't they? And they like to pass it around. And when you've got two teams that do that, especially like we've seen on Saturday last week against Swansea, both teams like to play the ball around. And the first half was great. I think if fatigue doesn't slip into our team, I think we'll probably edge it. And I know I'm being biased, but I think we might just edge it 3-2. I really do, because we've got record sales of season tickets. The crowd are behind them. I think it's nearly a sellout, apart from a couple of blocks where they have for segregation, which is ridiculous nowadays when you can just have a row of stewards to block it off. So, yeah, I think we'll probably just edge this one. But knowing me, it'd be a boring 0-0.
No, we'll see. I think there will be goals. I think Sunderland, their performances have been better this season than their results have kind of reflected, although they did get a big win against Rotherham last weekend. So they'll be confident from that. But as you say, Coventry will be confident as well in front of their home fans. So I think it'll be tight, but I'll go for a 1-1 draw. But we'll see how it plays out on Saturday. But Myles, thanks a lot for joining us on the latest episode of the Raw podcast.
Thank you.
For the latest SFC news, you can head over to the SFC section of the Sunderland Echo website to find more build-up ahead of Saturday's match, and then we'll have live updates from the CBS Arena as Sunderland take on Coventry, as well as post-match reaction and analysis. So once again, thanks a lot for listening to the Raw podcast.